Right, that's what we were hoping.
Ready?
I have you're talking about the taxes? You have a meeting tomorrow for to discuss that.
I'd like to call this meeting the special meeting of FiPAC to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just let everybody else is getting into the floor.
Take a chance.
Okay.
Okay, our original purpose for meeting was to set the mill rate and the date the taxes should be due. What do we say? Tabling, postponing, disregarding until we have a referendum vote. Disregarding until we have a positive vote in the referendum.
How many more do you have, Mark? I think I got them all. Except owner. Anybody know owner?
I
think I'm gonna hold on owner.
You can send them a message. So, Bev, we had talked earlier today about any possible tabulation of the surveys, understanding that that was really over the top, but if you have anything to share from the surveys. Yes, I do. I did a quick thing. I didn't have time to do all the comments, but based on what I counted up and stuff pretty quickly in the last hour or so, there are about 330 exit polls. On the Board of Selectmen budget, there was 140 that said it was too high, 46 said it was too low, and 131 said it was appropriate. On the Board of Education side, there was 157 that said it was too high, 100 said it was too low, and 62 said it was appropriate. On capital, there was 115 who said it was too high, 57 said it was too low, and 129 appropriate.
Can you tell me the Board of
Appropriate 131. Mm-hmm. Going through them all. So tonight we can discuss modifying the budget for the purpose of presenting a revised budget at the town budget meeting. However, we don't have to decide to make a revision. We can leave it as it is and go back, just so people understand that's an option. And I know earlier today we had an email with Kelly who asked that we wait till we understand the comments better, which is a long process for those to be assembled, but to see more what people are thinking before we made any change. So I'm just bringing that up since she's here to do it. So what's your pleasure? Shall we start reviewing possible reductions? Have a motion on leaving it as it is.
Can we talk first before we do anything about timeline? Like, what are the next steps?
So right now, registrar of voters have come back that June 30th would be the best time for it, the referendum, which would mean the Tuesday before June 30th would be, was that the 23rd?
Yeah.
Would be the town meeting that would adjourn to the referendum. So before the 23rd, you would have to have a public hearing. And then at that public hearing, set the mill rate that you're going to move to the town.
So that actually gives us time before we officially give numbers of cuts or not cuts. Like, could we technically meet again after Board of Selectmen and Board of Education? Or just, is that not how it works?
They are meeting, I think the Board of Ed's on Monday. Board of Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday. FiPAC has their regular meeting on Wednesday, which would probably be basically include a budget workshop and a budget hearing. And from there, you'd have to decide that night, if you want to do the public night or do another meeting next week, because the week after that is the town meeting. So you really have only a couple days next week.
Are you meeting tomorrow?
We are,
None.
but not about this. I mean, it's about the budget, but it's not about, saying where we could cut, because we have no idea. We're not offering up anything until FiPAC sets what you, if anything at all, you'd like us to cut.
When is the date that, all right, so we're kind of like to work on the, when is talking about schedules for purposes of taxes, when, how's this going to impact when the first tax bill goes out versus follow tax bill?
So I did invite Janice and Gay, our tax collector.
How do you guys decide to do it? We've been talking today and Gay, myself, my assistant, thought that if we build real estate personal property for a July 1st at this year's mill rate.
Mm-hmm.
Once the budget passes, we then build motor vehicle in August. And then in January, that second installment of the real estate personal property is going to make up the difference between what was charged at this mill rate as opposed to what the new mill rate is. But caveat there is that has to be done by Tuesday. Tuesday's my cutoff to get the information this coming Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday is the cutoff.
Right.
Okay.
In order to get bills out for.
So if FiPAC thinks that's a good idea and recommends to the Board of Selectmen, we have set up a meeting tomorrow at 4:00 to, based on state statute 12-123, if you do not have a budget before you have to send out your first taxes, the Board of Selectmen set the mill rate. Tentative. That's an option. And then once you have a budget, FiPAC would then modify the mill rate or have the ability to.
But that means if the Board of Selectmen set the mill rate, what if the referendum passes up or down or whatever on the 30th?
So the safest and what's recommended by quality data is that the mill rate be set at the previous mill rate. And then no matter what happens with the budget, you make modifications on the second tax bill in January.
Okay, so in this scenario, I apologize, but I want to ask a question so everybody knows. In this scenario, if we decide to go with the current mill rate and the tax bills go up, the ones in January will be at whatever and whenever the referendum decides it. It's probably not going to be the same as it is right now, let's be honest.
Right.
So in January, what you get your bill, you will see it trued up for the next 6 months with the new mill rate. Plus you will have the missing portion of the mill rate attached to that bill. So January's bill could be sizable. All right, just so
and
you
it's-
know.
It's probably only property. I don't think we're doing motor vehicle,
Yeah.
In this-
Vehicle in August, that's what she said.
right?
But property is
So
more,
motor vehicle will be correct.
property is probably higher than motor vehicle, right? So we'll be a little bit bigger in January. And 8 people from the town will remember that.
Yes, there'll be a lot of phone calls.
Well, we could put something in there with the, part of the mailer, can't we? Yeah.
When you get your first bill, that this is what we did and this is what to
Well,
expect.
well,
Right.
for something.
It sounds like that's the only option.
No,
What's the alternative?
we don't send out a tax bill. And we can work 90 days off the current, correct, Mark?
Um,
Or this Board of Selectmen can set the mill rate.
Board of Selectmen can set the mill rate, or we could work off the current budget. We wouldn't be allowed to spend any more than 1/12 of the budget per month. So we'd work off the current budget we're in right now.
Yeah.
But our problem is, we'll start running out of money. We'll have to dig into the undesignated funds to pay bills until we send out a tax bill. So can't do it for long.
Everybody get this.
Everybody has it in their packet. Yeah,
Oh, I lost it.
No, it's all right. We speak to it.
and so it has a quality data example of 2 mill rates and has a little dummy math thing of how that would work. And then their final recommendation of what they wouldn't do. And then I put in the state statute that setting a mill rate by the Board of Selectmen if the town fails to lay a sufficient tax, which it has.
Okay, so Kelly, we're discussing current options for, collecting taxes. And there's a second page in your packet. Um,
We could vote next week and still be okay for the 23rd, or no,
what do you mean?
on the mill rate and any kind of increases, decreases. I mean, any
You're
kind of
not
decreases.
voting on any mill rate until,
No, I'm like, what we're gonna send to the town.
next week, you're gonna have the motion of what you want them to vote on. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can, we're doing cuts or keeping things stable. We can at the latest vote on that next.
Yes, so today,
And still be capable of.
Yeah.
Of having a vote on 23rd.
you just have to decide whether you want to have, decide today, discuss it. If you want to use Wednesday's regular meeting to discuss the budget and include a public hearing and then motion, or if you feel you want a separate meeting for the public hearing, then you really only have Thursday next week to do that, unless you really want to do it on Friday or Saturday, but I don't recommend it. So should we do this, make this decision first about which option? Well, you can just, you're not gonna motion on, Board of Selectmen has, makes that decision.
You would recommend to the board what you
Recommendation or
think would be the
consensus
best
of what you feel is
path.
best, but
Madam Chair, can I ask a question
sure.
to you, to the FiPAC? Based on the exit poll, which seemed to be, I didn't write it down, I should have, but close to 50-50, very close to 50-50. It's okay, it's appropriate, it's too high, it's appropriate, too low, 50-50. How do you even know how to make any decision on where to go with further cuts?
I don't know that 50-50 is,
I would argue it's more than 50-50. We have appropriate and too low. Essentially have to add those together. So.
So
arguably,
157 to 162, 140 to 177, you know,
Hold on, let me,
so.
Where are you at?
I just, I understand, but the question is,
What are you talking about that we don't have access to?
well, I thought they put it in.
I read the numbers because they're rough numbers on the poll. They're not, this is
I'm
something
sorry.
we going through for 2 hours and tallying, so we didn't, I share them, I just read off the numbers to everybody for the poll. And you don't have the comments because that's gonna take a lot more time to compile that.
The other issue is that only less than a third of the voters cast. A third of the voters completed the exit poll. So you'd have to find out the temperature of people who left but didn't leave an exit.
Oh, no.
And that's,
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, the percentage of people completing the exit poll seems to have gone down, as well as the percentage of people voting, but I think the exit poll was even smaller percentage. So as you started to say that you thought they were 50-50, and your point is that it doesn't tell us.
No. I have a question. 1,223 people voted. What is the total number of voters here in Columbia? I want to just know. what the turnout was.
I'm
34% last time, it's 29% this time.
20%.
No, 21% this time, 34% last time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people did not vote.
4,000,
4,000.
give or take.
Okay.
yeah, it was around 2,500 households.
The rough math is about 4,000. 1,200 at 30%, makes it 400 per times 10. I need to go to quarter.
Okay, so people are comfortable with recommending that the Board of Ed use option 1 in terms of making a decision about current mill rate for sending tax bills. That's our
Board of Selectmen.
recommendation to the
Board
board.
of Selectmen.
Yeah. Anyone else have any comments about that? I think there's other good choices. So that brings us to what?
Clarify that. Can you read what is,
It's a recommendation
what's the recommendation? That the Board of Selectmen what?
that the FiPAC has recommended the Board of Selectmen to send out the first bill at the existing mill rate,
Based on option 1.
based on option 1 from the quality data.
Before we recommend that, is it possible to, so the board of selectmen would set the mill rate? Any, can we have any input from the board of selectmen?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm one person.
They haven't met yet, so they're gonna hear this for the
That's
first
why
time
we're meeting tomorrow at 4.
at 4.
I'm one person. But the mill, if we set the mill rate, I tend to do hypotheticals because we have to be very careful because January's, look at that. If we set the mill rate too high and we send out a bill for that, people will pay. And then come January, they'll see, or when the mill rate is through a referendum is changed, they don't credit back that portion on their next tax bill, or do they?
I'm not sure I'm following.
Okay, let's say we decide to set it at 1.9.
Yes.
Let's just,
Why?
and then,
How could that ever happen? That you would.
Saying that he's saying if he set it too high. Then you
Okay.
have to adjust, but wouldn't it just be the same? as the
What?
Okay,
Look for this recommendation. This is right here. They will adjust. They will adjust the bill. Yes. It says it's not option 1. Option
Yeah.
1 is
no, she asked me.
to send out to use the old rate to send out.
Want
So,
to make a motion to that effect, Judy, just so we
Well,
have it?
it
No,
needs a
just
recommendation.
recommendation?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's just a consensus of them.
Consensus recommendation?
So,
Are you taking-
do we have consensus on recommending option one? Excuse me, Jane and me. Do we have consensus on recommending the Board of Selectmen endorse or choose option one as recommended by Quality Data Services? Option one is in front of you. Is there anyone who disagrees with that plan?
I think it's better than trying to pull out of that fund, run through the fund. Bring that away and option one.
Yeah. And so much easier to explain to people. I mean, so much more logical, I believe, in terms of, so. All right. So people's opinions about trying to get more information from the exit poll before we make any new recommendations. So we have,
Are we voting on the option one?
no, we don't vote.
Oh,
It's just a recommendation.
oh,
So that's, I was looking for consensus and nobody disagreed.
So I'm sorry, Judy, what was your next question?
So, well, I think you had suggested that we perhaps let the exit poll inform what we do in terms of making further cuts. As Steve pointed out, that it's certainly not very illuminating in terms of split. But I think last time we found the comments helpful, and that's something we could consider. Or we could start talking about reductions tonight, but I don't know, do we have to be out of here at 6 or not?
No,
And when was the next referendum? Has it scheduled the date? Did you?
Board of Selectmen on Tuesday will schedule it for June 30th. And the town meeting for June 23rd.
And we do have to have a public hearing before town meeting.
I think it's by charter.
By charter?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least one. I knew that.
And the public hearing would probably be a few days before the 23rd.
We can have it either at the FiPAC meeting, which is scheduled next week already. Or the only other option, I think, would probably be Thursday. We can meet on Wednesday and then for the budget workshop, and Thursday would be a public hearing.
But we have to have a budget to be presented at the public hearing. So we have to go before that. So we have to go either before the 17th.
Well, you'd have to have something to show at the public hearing, and then you do your final motion to send it off to the town meeting after the public hearing, just like last time. So the public hearing could change our mind, but only in the direction of a further decrease. So thoughts about this?
I would personally prefer to meet before, and I hate doing this because my schedule's cramped, but like, I would prefer to meet, for the Wednesday meeting and to vote on this, but I also want to get this information before we can do any company, not that it's me, this might be good enough, but like, I think we need to see some of these comments at the same time. When are the comments available? Tuesday? On Monday?
I'm going to try to get this all taken care of, hopefully within the day. No, hopefully before Friday. The last time it took about 8 hours
Excuse
to
me,
get through everything.
I need to do some housekeeping, I'm sorry.
I'm not doing
Thank you. Thank you.
it, okay?
Yeah, you're way too busy.
No,
No, I wasn't gonna do it.
You need to sleep.
No, I-
Okay, you
I
keep
got-
saying
The same, no, the same,
Oh, please.
no. The same person who did it last time, probably do it again.
All right, thank you.
No,
I'm looking out for it.
no, I just did the little tally.
I know. Well, it says one narrative, though. One, what it, you know,
There's no comments. Somebody typed up a full
Didn't
thing.
vote, they just vote.
They just wrote something and I guess they came with it, I guess.
I mean, it might be useful for years.
Okay.
So it may be useful for us to read the public comments. But it looks like these numbers aren't gonna change, right? I mean.
Right.
Just, and I'm
Tally.
one or two because. it's-
Yeah, like I said, I
but
just,
this is not- So we only have less than a quarter of the voters responded. So I don't find it to be particularly useful, because we don't know what the other, because clearly the people who thought it was too high, there were at least 650 of those people. And there's only far fewer than that said it was too high. So I'm not sure that these numbers are gonna help us decide. The net, at the end of the day, the vote was to vote down the budget. And I don't think we should send back to the voters anything that isn't some kind of cut to say we heard you and we're doing further reduction. And I don't know that next Tuesday, which I'm happy to come on Tuesday, that's the day for the hearing, or for our next FiPAC meeting, they do it, but I don't know that we're gonna have any more information next Tuesday than we have right now as to what the people wanted. Unfortunately, it doesn't fall to the people, it falls to us to make the next decision, so we have to decide on it. Send it back to referendum and they'll vote. But, you know, what they've said in the comments will be helpful, if, again, for the people who voted. So I don't know that it's gonna be that useful for us to wait.
I agree with things, because if you just look at those numbers, because the budget can't go down, right? You had to approve it or,
Can't go up.
sorry, can't go up. So people who said they think it's too low, the best thing they could have done is vote to approve what we already have. Maybe.
right,
Let's just say they did. Because we can't go up. So but the people who thought it was too low or appropriate, that would put the people saying it's too high in the minority, but the vote didn't come out that way. So there's a lot of people, so the numbers by themselves, if I just looked at the numbers, like, oh, the majority makes it like it's either appropriate or too low, so you think the vote would have passed based on those numbers, which I don't think it's very useful. The numbers by themselves.
yeah, the self-selection for doing the survey. Probably something, but
But given that, do you think whether we do it tonight, and I'm completely, I know tonight or back Tuesday, but I do.
I mean, Wednesday.
Well, but Wednesday's a public hearing, so we have to have something to present to the public hearing.
Yeah,
So we have to have a meeting before that.
Yeah.
vote.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
that Tuesday, because Tuesday board of selectmen, so we'll have to figure this out. When we wanna- Unless we're in that room. Who's in here? Yeah. But won't the board of selectmen be making a decision at that point on how to change their budget?
Well, we haven't been asked to.
Well, yes, of course. So the theoretical, if you request them or the board of ed to make a change, yeah, they'd have to have a special meeting, but again, that would be on their own because whatever, it's your budget still. So if you say the reduction, that's the reduction, then, yeah, they would have to meet to discuss, so. Yes.
If people are, it's living in town.
We can talk.
We can at least talk it through, we may not have a vote tonight.
You can do a preliminary just like last time and then wait till the public hearing to finalize. I mean, that's what you did last time.
We made a final decision.
Yeah, you did. You had like a meeting and then some suggestions, but then you didn't finalize till after the public hearing. That's right. No, that's right. That is, that library.
Yeah, we moved back in.
Not the second time. The second time we said at the hearing, we can't make any further changes, this is. That's going forward to the referendum. Or
The town, that's at the town meeting, that's why it's so confusing. I keep having two meetings before the referendum, because people don't know what they're about.
The number, so let's start talking numbers then. The number of increase that we are currently at is 6.2% increase.
Yes,
The number I think will be comfortable is somewhere between 4 and 5%. That is why I listened to and I've been on, I know it's fully anecdotal. I don't know if that has any constitute majority or if that's what the majority feels, but I know it's a number that people have thrown around. I don't know what everyone thinks about that, and I think to get to that number, at least to a 5%, you would have to cut 250,000 to get to 5% in the current budget. If I'm not mistaken, is that right, Beth?
I don't know.
250, I believe.
200 to 500.
Yeah,
We're getting it.
5% flat. So,
250 and 300.
yeah,
Gonna get us below 5, so 300 get us below,
pretty far down slide percentage side.
but it'd be a 4 at the front. Instead of, so, yes.
Sorry, what happens if it does again? Do we just keep
We
doing
can
it?
keep doing this over and over again.
Charter doesn't have a cap.
So it doesn't ever fully revert to last year's budget. We just keep going until we.
Mhm.
We just can't spend any more money than last year's budget until we have budget of 1/12 per month of last year's budget.
So does our fiscal year start on July 1? Yes. You know, I think we can't ignore the fact that we vote a no vote. So we have to do something, and I do think. I apologize. I really thought that the cut that we made would be enough, that people would say, okay, that was well, and yeah, we accept the budget. So I feel bad that they didn't actually accept it. I think it means we do have to make a quick cut, and I think if we cut back, the 300, we get it down below 5%. That would at least, and again, can't say what people are going to vote for, but short of going to a zero budget increase, I don't know what else we can do. I don't want to cut it so dramatically. I mean, we're already so far down the road, it's July, it's gonna be July before we have the mill rate, so if they vote this down, then we go another time. Well, we have to.
Could
I
I,
don't want to go zero now, because going zero is too dramatic.
I thought,
I just want to voice my concern that we cut anything from the board selectmen's fund. At a certain point, you're starting to hurt the roads and the structure. All of this,
I
say
agree.
that right out now.
If you wanna just have the one.
At this point, that's my.
Well, the capital budget
I'm not sure I agree.
separate from the Board of Selectmen.
Well, I understand, but I'm just very new with that.
I can just add one thing from the number of questions and FOIs I've been getting. There's a lot of community members that don't understand the difference between operating and capital and what they're for, and they really don't understand the budget and how we go through this entire process. So I think they relied a lot on hearsay from friends and what they've read. Right. So I'm not sure they're as educated as I'd like them to be. And
Sure they're
I
not.
put that responsibility on myself. And I know Beverly and I are already talking about how to represent the budget differently and how to get more information into sites where people can clearly understand what we're all talking about. But it's hard.
Martin, I agree with that, and one of the things that pretty much majority of people that have talked to me about the budget are saying is that they do not have enough information and they don't really understand the budget. So I agree. I think not just you, but all of us have to do a better job of explaining budget, where the money's going, the impact, the school system. We got $500,000. That's already had a big impact. What is gonna, we got more? What's gonna be the impact of that? So I agree. We need to do a better job of communicating.
So I'm going to, as I'm sure you'll all guess, disagree that we cut anything from the Board of Education. I also, for the record, disagree that we cut anything from the Board of Selectmen. It's ridiculous that we're here. I think as a town, we have responsibilities that include education, public safety, and I'm sure there are legal requirements. Feel free to chime in and tell me what those are. If anything I say speaks to something that is legally required. I think we have cut significantly from the school. And I think requiring further cuts that we know will require staffing edits or further reductions will impact the Board of Education legal obligation. And I know people maybe don't care, but moral obligation to maintain a safe school and a quality education for the students that we are required to provide it for. I think cutting anything further from the fire department, like public safety risk, and roads. So I do think there are certain things that we need in the town to support. I think anything discretionary should be on the chopping block, I guess. I'm not suggesting we don't put anything, but I think at this point we can only look at discretionary items. Don't think education is a discretionary item.
I agree with Marie. I don't think we should have the Board of Education budget at all. I think it's really important to fully fund the fire department. We should have that. And a lot of the increases relate to road repair and stuff like that. The problem with that is that the longer we put stuff off, the more expensive it's going to be. So we can put it off this year. But that means that we have to spend more in the coming years. So, I mean, we needed to do a better job of explaining this to townspeople.
Does someone want to respond right now? Because if not, I will.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think people understand bottom line numbers, and maybe they don't understand everything else. But people understand budgeting concepts. They understand the 7% increase. They understand raises. They understand the basics, and I think we do a service to our fellow citizens. They just don't. They are not smart enough to understand.
I didn't say that.
We understand. No, I know you're not saying that, but to say that they don't understand and that it's only communications problem is not fair. They have every opportunity to come to all of the meetings, and I've heard a lot of people who are at all the meetings making material misstatements of fact. So I don't think we can say that we just need to keep the budget the way it is when it's been voted down for a second time. I do not think that we should be presenting the same budget to the town. That is offensive to the people who voted and voted.
Did someone recommend that we keep it the same?
Well, you said not to reduce anything.
No, that's not what I said. I said I support reductions. I don't support them from the Board of Education. I support discretionary.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's discretionary?
So what's there? I allow us to make
Yeah, go ahead.
recommendations. We
I
have
yield the time to you.
We have a senior center that has $300,000, which would get you to exactly percent as Art has requested. We have 282,459 would be elderly transportation services. We have youth services. I don't know what is legally required. We have other things in this that we could cut. I don't want to cut any of these. I think it is irresponsible to cut these services to the town. We have a rec department there. I think we've already cut from the library.
How are those more discretionary than
We've done education and growth requirements of the school to maintain a quality education, safety of students.
high quality education? I mean, people
The school's already under the 50 or under the 50. Already under 50, so quality education, it's not even
well,
close.
I'm sorry. Will you repeat?
The school currently is under 50 of the schools in the state of Connecticut. So
This like to cut
So-
staff to increase that number. Is that what you're looking
I
at?
think we would like one person speaking at a time without interruption.
So, thank you, Judy. So the idea that this is quality of education, I don't agree. I don't wanna, I just don't. I don't know what we're gonna do here, because this was a very serious cut. And I thought it was gonna pass, is why I voted for it. If I didn't think it was gonna pass, I would have voted for it. But the number I think bandied around town at this. The board of selectmen and capital have been cut $600,000. And we still needed to pay attention to rents and to certain infrastructure. The school has a declining student population. It's going to climb further in the next couple of years. And there is now a push for regionalization. There has been for quite some time. But now the town's planning zone is now pushing something. And there was a plan to put in place. I do think the board of ed is going to work with the top. If you have other recommendations, by all means, but we gotta find a way to get a budget through that the town finds acceptable. And I'm not sure these numbers help me out at all, but on what direction and which way to go.
Total
The anecdotal evidence I was hearing, I don't think the school budget was too high. That is what I'm hearing from different community members. That's what I'm hearing. I know that probably people want to hear here, but that is what I'm being told.
Just responding to something you said. Why do you talk about, is it student population plan or?
We're not inviting public comment,
My
dialogue with the
impression,
public.
I've been involved in FiPAC for 10, 12 years. And I'm board of FiPAC for the years before that. And what I've seen is student population go up and down those very, very slightly. And I have not seen any indications that a student population is currently going down. Side effect of anything, it's going to go up.
That's not what the research shows in Connecticut or nationally. I haven't, done a broad research survey, but I have done some exploration of this, and certainly there are articles that are coming out now. School populations, particularly given how fast the birth rate is dropping. Will be 5 years from now, we'll have no pre-K. So,
My wife and I were having our third class. She's gonna be very lonely.
The other thing is, I'm not sure how to look at the item. We need to do a good job of educating the kids that are thoroughly enough. Regardless of how many there are, whether it's going to go up and down. And, when the Board of Education does a presentation, during the budgetary process, they tell us how many students are in stuff, like, enrolled and how many they expect next year. And we make decisions based on that, and not based on whether or not it's going to go down in 3 or 4 years. And the other thing I want to say is, one of the things that I've heard at town meetings, public hearings, that we should just, use method. Some people wanted to use even a RAM or public quarter and send all the kids there, and that's not feasible. But the other thing is, if we just choose to send middle school kids to RAM, the cost of education per pupil between Columbia and Cleveland, Cleveland's about $3,000 per pupil. Which would mean that if we do that, then it's going to increase the cost of education and not increase it. And the other thing is that during the budget process, we were given some statistics about how well Columbia can do at Weaver. They do above that, which means that
Yeah,
they're doing,
That's not true.
It's 53%, which is above average.
Well, they underperformed this one.
And that's not what we were told, and I don't know whether you're getting the information. But, if they're doing above average, then that means that Columbia Board of Ed and Columbia School System is doing a pretty good job of prevention system.
So, excuse me, Dick, I think we need to focus more narrowly on the budget and what recommendations we're going to make. I hear that some people, that some division, whether we can cut the Board of Ed, the capital, or the Board of Selectmen budget. And I am very much against cutting the capital budget. I believe it's already been altered to the point where it could possibly be dangerous not to fix some of these roads. So I just don't see how we can make any reduction in the capital budget. The actual Board of Selectmen budget itself is very slim. There's not a lot of overhead in the way we do our town management, certainly not discretionary or surplus. So I think that brings us back to the Board of Ed. And that, in the conversations I have with at least two people who didn't bother to fill out the survey too, people are looking at the Board of Ed budget as being too high for the size of the school. So in my own examination of the budget, I was trying to understand the salary structures of the administrative staff, the administrative support staff, because it does seem like there are quite a few administrative assistant positions with the board clerk in addition. I have worked at 2 hospitals and many nonprofits, and the board of directors of a fairly large hospital, the secretary to the CEO manages the board, for instance, manages all the board communication. So I don't know if that's something that's been looked at. I noticed that we don't have, I can't tell from looking at the salary budget whether who's older or newer because they're not in steps. Steps aren't listed, but I think we need to look creatively. I don't necessarily think we need to start with laying off more teachers. Laying off more teachers is incendiary, and I think people would be appreciative. Townspeople would be appreciative of a look in another place if that's possible. I don't know the specifics of those contracts, so that's what I'm done.
Can we make any recommendations to board of ed to look into these things, or is that fully in their discretion as to whether or not to go after administrations when we have any control?
That's the question.
Right.
Yeah, that is under discussion. So the Board of Ed budget has to be maintained at what number plus 92,000? Do whatever last year's budget was. Okay, so plus the 92, you can't go below that. The state's already said that. I mean, it's in the packet. Which would, I believe, put us well beyond below what our goal is, but that would be my desire to come out of this meeting tonight, is to recommend the Board of Ed make further cuts and we maintain the capital budget and the Board of Selectmen budget as they with the cuts they've already made.
Doesn't it now that we don't have to go speed 300,000? Just want to throw that out there.
Right, we could pick a number, but I think we need to
Yeah, well, where?
first. So I mean, I think one of the things that I mentioned at the meeting when we did the first audit. And this was, at the public hearings,
92.
people were concerned about proportionality, that we actually took more out of the Board of Selectmen side, which is Board of Selectmen operating capital, and less out of the school when the school is 4 or 5 times larger than the town's budget. And there was some concern that that was not a prudent decision on our part to take more, because of the relatively equal cuts had much deeper effect on the town than it did on the school. And it's in terms of proportionality, and that was a criticism that I heard and took to heart, which is why I'm more focused on Board of Education now, because it is such a town in the first round. And taking more from the Board of Education now still is at all proportional. We were to do 550, made it 850. It's still not proportionate with the town's $600,000 cut. It's only a little bit more than the town, and it doesn't compare with their exponentially larger budget. So I am inclined to take everything from the school's budget and reduce the town operating budget for the capital. And I do think that one of the things that hasn't really been discussed, and I don't know if the Board of Education is doing this, but they don't necessarily have to lay off anybody. They could go back to the unions and negotiate here. So that's on them. That's for them to figure out. But they can go back to the unions and talk to them about whether they will want to lay off X number of people, or they usually not take the increases that were in their contracts. So I don't think it's an off game. I think it's by cutting their budget, the only.
That's not the state. It should have been. That's the proposal right
Okay, so it looks like the difference between the proposed Board of Ed budget and the last year, the 25-26 budget plus $92,000 is close to $1 million. So,
From last year to this year.
right.
Yeah.
In fact, in the 92,000, I go up.
150, that's operating into that cut as well, so it's technically, what's the number left?
So what?
This has the cut.
That is that's not including the 550 that they just cut.
That's not included.
No, so right now, Board of Ed's proposing, Board of Ed operating budget is proposing for 26-27, $15,535,620.
And that's with the cuts they did, the 550 or not?
No.
Oh, that's without.
Okay, so I thought this was,
So the total original was $1 million, and we took 550, so there's another 450 available.
450.
Right, so the Board of Ed is down to 14,985,620.
right, so that's roughly 400,000 difference between last year's budget plus the 92,000
Right,
that's
they're
required.
481.
Budget.
Their increase right now is 481,000 or 3.32%.
And then that not include the 92?
That does not include the
Nine,
90.
so you have to take the 90.
So you have to reduce it to 390 as your increase rate.
Yeah, you're right. So, any other comments?
I don't understand, proportionally, it's silly to think that way. Because my mortgage is much bigger than the streaming service, and if I had to tighten my belt, I don't feel like if I have to cut more out of my mortgage, I just think that's convenient to throw around proportion. I mean, if the town's going it down, spread the hurt. Everyone should cut, I think, if we're going to cut it all. I voted yes the first time around, looking at what we need to do. Now, we have to look to the future. But I don't believe it should be solely education. I
Well,
mean, if the town voted no, spread it out, and the town votes yea or nay. I mean, we can't, I see so much that are just targeting Board of Ed, and it's so much misinformation out there. Like we're saying about communication, about we pay too much for this, but it's been reported at meetings, we're in line with other towns. Like, I mean, there are people targeting Board of Ed. I don't agree that it should be cut at all, but it may have to be. I don't believe that we're just gonna throw some math equations and say, well, because of this percentage.
well, we didn't do that.
No, it's been discussed by two people already, so it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't necessarily make sense to do it that way. It's just a method that we could throw out there. It just being accepted as that's the gospel now, and it doesn't.
I could also point out in the first round of cuts we did before we ever presented a budget, the Board of Ed took 200,000 the Board of Selectmen took 200,000. That took 75, I think. So, it's when that budget is so small, the Board of Ed, they pretty much, they've taken 800,000 from where they started this year. I think that we can't run the town and expect to be safe on our streets. And I am very much opposed to eliminating any town services that are to any population. Education not being a service. But no, education isn't a service, it's a required element. We have to, I don't think of it as a service, but
It's not, I think it's a little shallow to say that we're not providing education when we're giving $14 million. To say that we're not providing it for our children when we're spending $14 million for 700 children. It's very shallow to say that we're not doing enough to educate our kids.
Do we have the numbers on how many people use the senior center? Do we need numbers?
Not at my fingertips, but yes, we have data on transportation and lunches. It's a donation. It's a donation.
So we don't
And-
charge, it's donation.
It's a recommended, right, we give a recommended amount and we send an invoice.
we also have a lot of grant money that supports like the meals.
Meals and
Like,
transportation.
School, but we're looking at there, so.
Among,
And like, I think you mentioned that you don't want to put anything from anyone in town, any group of town. But it does seem that maybe this group is more interested in cutting from the children of the town than from any other group. Whereas I do think it's the adults voting down the budget. And I do think, I agree, that any cuts we make should be spread across the town as the town voted it down. We don't have commentary. We don't know why they voted it down. As far as I can tell, based on the numbers that we were given from this exit poll, 63% think the Board of Selectmen is either too low or appropriate. 51% believe the Board of Education is too low or appropriate. 62% believe capital is too low or appropriate. So it's all pretty even split. I think it's unfair to target just one group.
I just think it's expensive to say that we're.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, I do too.
it's not,
You know, they don't mean that, like, we're trying to come up with a budget that is fair to the entire town, and we're seeking the most reasonable approach. And we've already cut the town side budget, which is already a third of the size of the school's budget. I just don't buy more than Board of Education's cut. So now that we're going for a second round, I don't feel that we can cut it more. And for you to say that that means we're cutting children,
And that was a very specific comment in reply to a comment that we were trying to not put anything for anyone, which I don't think is true. And we're trying to cut from the school specifically.
The school is, well, I agree with Kelly that the school is what we have to work with. We don't have anything else to work with. And while this is an emotional issue. I would hope that we could avoid implying that anyone is not acting in good faith or is representing some other agenda besides coming up with the best budget for the town.
Also, I would add on that, I think part of, based on my, like, I don't want to get into this, but one of the things that I encountered a lot from town was, I heard a lot of people, I drove out a lot of vote against the referendum, because I think it would have passed, not for this, was the tarring of seniors by members of the Board of Ed, and not the Board of Ed themselves, but or the school system. That there were personal attacks made online and elsewhere.
I think you're spreading false.
I'm sorry, nobody has permission to speak.
Not be disrespectful to Board of Education members.
I didn't mean to imply it was.
Please,
word.
you did.
I corrected myself and said it was the schools, two parents at the school, and different members of that community that were arguing.
Point of order, Madam Chair, if we can't have the audience of citizens observe silently, I would ask that they be asked to leave.
And so what I was getting at with this is that is, I think personally, had those things not happened, this budget would pass, because I think cuts were good. And I don't think there needed to be any more cuts. But if not for that behavior that happened online in social media circle as well as in public, that this is what we're here.
So you're making this, point based on what you read on social media?
Well, this all occurred at the town meetings as well, because I was just gonna mention that.
Right. Person that said.
I know some stuff. I'm having a lot of stuff said at the town meeting that was inaccurate. A lot of that stuff came from social media, I suspect. Are you saying that your information is not from
No,
social media?
I'm saying that my information has come from talking to members of the community and what their concerns were when they advised me what drove them vote. And so their reaction was in response to this. And I think that had this not happened, and we wouldn't be here as long.
And the polarization
Correct.
of education for children and services for seniors actually started a couple of years ago, and I never heard it before then. And we're one community trying to look out for everyone. And I understand that this is intense for people, but
As someone who's on social media, I didn't see a single comment about seniors. I've seen tons attacking teachers, the pay of admin. And if we're gonna just throw out some anecdote, I heard some guy and I hear, that's not nothing. What, you talk to 3 people, you talk to one reunion 50 years ago, said the school's declining, and all of a sudden you brought it up again. You keep bringing up the school's declining. My son was in the school in 2015, 16. I was involved, Little League treasurer. I was on a parish council. I was involved with catechism at St. Columba, volunteered for CWSA. I was volunteered. Every parent in every aspect loved the school, and they all did great. Both in the email.
excuse me, Jim, but this is to everyone.
The comments are allowed if he brings up decline. Why is the decline in school a factor at all? But he brings it up every
Well,
meeting.
no. So we're bringing up, test scores that are public record. If you want to look.
Let's not go there. Let's talk about the budget. Talk only about the budget.
Sure. But the only reason why I went there is because of the fact that I feel as though whenever we discuss possibly cuts, there's always this insinuation that somehow this has some animosity driven towards the educational situation in town. On the part of people who are talking about cuts. If we want to find a different way to do it, that's fine. But, if we're going to start getting personal about this, then, I'm just pointing out that I don't think we would have been here if the personalism was left out.
Okay, let's get back on topic. And, would be really important if people could try to assume that we're all working in good faith towards a goal. And if this isn't about money, Dick, no. Really.
God, I heard sharp in my ear. I just want to be something I said repeatedly over the years. I think educating.
Okay, Dick, I'm gonna stop the philosophical, because we've had many times over the years, no.
Say something was not true. The Columbia education system is not on a decline. They're doing a very, very good job. And I think over the years, Columbia has done a really good job of supporting Florida school and supporting education in Columbia. And I want us to continue doing that. We may have to make a cut in the Board of Education budget based on the referendum. But I want to hear what's said at the public hearing, see what people think, and then make that decision. And I don't want to hear stuff that is not based on factual stuff like others do.
And like many people at the public hearing do,
And everyone,
because they don't have access.
You can look it up yourself.
Okay, let's stop this dialogue, please. Art, let me interrupt you, please. Okay, this is not productive. People are sharing opinions without data. You may have the data, but I don't think it's a productive discussion. And frankly, what the data is, I don't believe is relevant to what we have to do. It doesn't change anything about what we need to do. So I disagree about waiting for a public hearing because the public hearings tend to be broad-based statements of what people support. I believe I understand that the perspectives of parents and families and other groups in the town, based on the 4 meetings we've had already with town meetings and public hearings. So I don't know that we get anything new. I feel like I left the last 2 meetings with something I hadn't heard in the first 2 meetings. So
What's the point in having a public hearing?
we have
we know that
to. Well, that's the only point for
let me
me.
finish, please. If we don't listen to the public, isn't that the whole point of a public hearing? To get input from them and then make a decision?
Absolutely. My point is that nobody said anything in the second public hearing that they didn't say in the first public hearing. So the third public hearing.
Listen, well, the whole purpose of a public hearing is to hear from the public. And I don't think we should or can make any decisions until we go through that process.
Okay, let me yield the floor to somebody else.
I think, Mayor,
Absolutely.
I think we can make a decision, and as I understand it from Bev, she says we can change our mind. So we can have a proposal for tonight that goes to the public meeting, so the people who come to the public meeting actually have something to work with. Because they're just gonna come to the public hearing and say, well, we think this and that and the other thing, what we've already said, but they can't speak to the specific proposal to say that number is too high, that number is too low. We need to give them something that they can speak to as opposed to just generality. So I think we should give them something at the public hearing, and we will know that at the end of the public hearing, apparently we can change our vote and adjust it if we decide based on the input that we should adjust it. So I would like to have a number so that the people who come to the hearing, what they're dealing with, what is the proposal on the table if we do nothing, and let them speak to that issue.
I agree that we should come up with a number. We should go for a low number that we think we need to get there. I'll give you an opinion, I know you don't want it. I think that a lot of the voting public feels emboldened or empowered because of neighboring towns turning things down. I think that if we come out with a 5.5%, 6% right up front is our number, it would have gone through just like that. So I think instead of going to a 4 number, you go to a 5.2, 5.3, and target that. If we can get there, fine. If we can't,
I don't know what to say. That's, I've kept quiet and want to get involved in things. That's my thought.
So you think, maybe you can make a quarter or less than a quarter mil cut?
Well, we're in the, if we go to 5.4, that's. Is that a quarter mil? I'm talking percent. I don't know if that comes out, you know.
Yeah. 100,000, 150 gets under 6, or 5 point something.
Marie's got a calculator.
Yeah.
Alright,
What's the question?
so what if we did 200, pick that number, that does?
200 is 1/3 of a mil.
5.6%, 5.5. 1.63.
I think go with it. Sooner or later, the public's gonna tire. Too. 'Cause I am.
Yeah.
Underestimate.
No, I get it. We're talking about money out of their pockets.
And
It's not my
become
pocket.
more.
Yeah.
So 200 would get us down to 5, 6-ish.
Well, how could 300 get us below 5?
Yeah.
It doesn't get.
Yeah. We get
Flat. So we have to go
More than. Sure hope that's true.
You recommend that we check it out before it gives.
Before it goes the next weekend.
Yes.
Plan with the numbers.
I don't think we should go as well as we think we need to, based on. What, how much height you read this?
Yeah.
Over 50%.
Yeah, no, it's pretty even, yeah. I mean, it was a very close vote. I mean, they just started with 100. I assume that that's us. Okay.
I want to get it into the 5 something.
Well, that would get us just within, like, 150.
I think I would support 100,000. I'm not sure if I would support anything.
Just 100,000 more budget cuts.
Anything? Any other comment on?
I mean, I'd support above 1 if we split it across the 2 groups. But I don't think 1's gonna get you there. I think it's almost
Yeah.
insulting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I feel about it.
too. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
I liked 3, but I could go with 2.
I was just trying to find whether there were maybe steps on this also. That was my goal, on my brain going.
What would we have to cut to get to 5.3%?
It's around 2%.
5.3%.
3%?
Like 250.
There's probably about 250.
How many mils?
5.
It's one
That's
that's
it.
1 mil.
1 mil. 581.
One.
It's rough.
185.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, do you want to entertain a motion just to see where we are, or some more discussion?
I'll make a motion that we reduce the budget by 250,000. And that brings us into the range of 5% overall increase.
And then where are you recommending?
I would recommend it all Board of Education.
This is pending the hearing? Pending the hearing?
That's what we proposed as the tentative proposal. Second.
I second the motion, so we can continue the discussion on the motion specifically.
I'm opposed. I'm in support of these blank, but I'm opposed to this.
Same thing.
Sorry.
Gonna do what you guys tell me to do, right? Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Or discussion? Oh, all right, direct, please, go ahead.
Or discussion already. That's
Sorry.
You were,
All right,
you were in the middle of it, sorry.
you're right. Go ahead. My apologies.
So, all right, so we're discussing 250,000 cuts.
I, if this is to present as a public hearing, I'm interested in, hearing about how people are gonna react to it at the public hearing. But I would have to, if I'm gonna vote on this, I would, I think that's the big one.
Do you mean it's too big overall? Or, as Marie and Jim said, it just needs to be like,
If it's, I mean, we were talking about just cutting the voter list. If we're just saying we wanna,
Let's,
to have,
let's start with, let's cut it 250. Are you in support of that? Regardless of where it comes from.
I would probably support that,
Okay.
but I would not want to cut the Board of Education budget more than, that means 150 for the board. I'm saying
I'll go along with it. Share it. All right. How about we do it this way? Just a thought. I know we talked about online for capital. But I can't imagine 50,000 from capital is going to kill us. Would it?
We have to review it.
do you, does anyone know if first, the chief of law enforcement officer has the authority to close roads if they're unsafe? Here, Mr.
As a traffic authority, if I guess, well, do I have the authority? If I thought it was unsafe, I could care if I had the authority, I'd shut the road down. Okay?
Well, that's the
And
question.
they can bring me in and fight me all you want, because the people here deserve safe roads. So, but I do appreciate you asking the question.
Because I think if there is an issue that have a culvert that's not safe for cars driving on, it has to be closed.
Yes.
So
Would, but I mean, I'm just asking 50,000 decrease. If we were to do 50 from,
Can I help in this discussion?
Yes, please.
We're gonna do $250, get together with the Board of Education, the Board of Selectmen, and we'll work it out somehow, okay? I can't take this anymore. We're picking numbers out of the air. Tell us what to do, and we'll find a solution, okay?
We're trying to.
We will do that. Thank you. We're calling people names, we're yelling at people, we're having bad discussions. You just tell us what you want us to do.
I think that's what we're trying to get to. Point of order.
How much? Just say how much.
Wait a minute, we have a point of order.
I would like to ask the audience of citizens, including the first selectman, to be recognized and only allowed speaking when you're asked to speak, or please, so that we can have our discussion, because it's our responsibility to make the budget. Editors, next.
So the thought in my brain, just throwing it out here, this is, I'm being, let me verbalize this. I was thinking 50 from capital, 100 from selectmen, and 100 from forward debt, which solves and gets to 250. I'm not sure if that's the right decision. I'm just throwing it out there.
What if I can get capital at 150 and nothing from the Board of Selectmen? Is that okay?
Sure.
That's why I said pick a number.
I don't want to do that. I'm just, that's my brain.
Ultimately, that's the way it would play out, because we can only give you a number and you figure it out anyway.
Right.
We can't.
We can't touch that.
we can't do that.
I guess, yeah.
Well, that was in my head, so.
I think that is exactly the opposite of what the message we heard was of proportionality, because now we're taking 150 from the town, from their minuscule little budget, and pittance of 100,000 for Fed, their substantially larger budget. So it's the exact opposite of what makes sense.
Then 150 from Board of Ed and
No,
100 so then 150 from the Board of Ed and 100 from, between capital and whatever, however more something else for that.
I think Steve made a really good point. Why don't we just tell him that we want to cut 250 and have Steve and Bob get together and come up with a,
Not a budget.
how we're gonna do it.
Why? It's for them.
We
It's
have-
their budget. They know
But
the
then
numbers and then
we
you
have
have
to,
to.
we have to allocate between the town and the school.
Why? Don't we
Because
just have to allocate a number? We just
No.
have to say we're gonna get the mill down.
Do what?
Is that correct?
Each board should have their own, yes. Each board needs to have its own
Allocation.
number.
I mean, they can go talk among themselves and come back and tell us what they want, but we still have to allocate a number for each.
So if we allocate a number for them and they get together, and it sounds like Steve has X amount of dollars and the Board of Education has X amount of dollars, they have to meet what we say, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if it's illogical.
Once it's final,
Yes,
yeah,
it won't be final until after the public hearing.
and after the, right, but so that's why we're making a number that is subject to change after the hearing, so if they come back to us at the public hearing and say they've got some different number that's work better, we can adjust that. So it's not final, this is just tentative.
Will we in good faith, if they have different numbers, entertain that? Or
Well,
I would.
for everybody else.
I mean, if the board, if the board of selectmen says he wants to take all 250 from capital and thinks it's gonna work, it's fine. You know, that's his bargain, if he wants to talk about it, but my understanding is based on the charter, once we've got past the first referendum, this kind of becomes FiPAC's problem.
And they get.
So that was my understanding, is that we can't really
We make the
confer.
decision, but there's no reason why we can't get input from Steve and Bob. Right?
At the public hearing. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. We give
All right, so we have a motion on the floor
Is there,
for, to cut 250,000 from the Board of Ed. That was the motion that cut.
and that's all. that's not-
Report of it all.
And that was the motion.
I'm opposed.
Okay, well, let's take,
Then you can make a motion to amend.
Do we vote on that and then have a new?
now we can amend it.
Wait, let me ask, yeah,
Wait, is this Robert rules? If it's moved and seconded, we vote on this and then we have a new motion.
No,
Someone else would vote.
yeah,
The motion maker has to agree,
the motion maker agrees to, yes,
if you could.
yeah.
That's how I want to do.
I think still have a discussion.
we're sorry, but I want to ask another question.
You could motion to amend the original motion if you have an opposing thing, and if she agrees to it, then she can pull back her motion. And we proceed with your motion. Does that make sense?
Now, based on the charter, based on the fact that we're past the first referendum, right? Is it possible, saying Mazur, that we can just simply basically say, we would like to do a $250,000 cut and defer to both boards figure it out for themselves, which is what Steve has asked.
That was.
We cannot, okay.
I don't think so. You'd also have to have the Board of Ed chair here to be part of that. I mean, you're not giving guidance to each board, so you're just telling them to work it out, which I'm not sure if you can really do that, since they originally worked separate on their own budgets. I mean, it would probably cause more angst. I'm thinking, well, we need to give some guidance to the boards of what to do, just saying, here's.
Why I thought, I was trying to ask is like, basically, I would imagine 250 would be the guidance, find it,
and be done. Then again, you're right, we are past that's why I didn't know if, because that's typically what we used, that we do, before we get to this point. But I didn't know that after we get to this point, we're given a lot of that.
You have to give them some guidance so that they can meet and make decisions. Again, this is just preliminary before the public hearing anyway. Have them go back, but basically it's your budget and this is what's gonna get forward to the public, so, it's really, you guys have to make a decision.
So do I need to make a motion before we vote to amend your motion? That we take the 250?
We can do it one or two ways. I could call the vote on my motion, and if it fails, then you can make you can make another full motion, or you can have. The risk is that mine passes. Yeah, so we're better off asking to amend.
Yes. Okay, then I ask to amend Kelly's motion that the 250 be split equally among both groups. The Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen. I'm happy to rephrase that.
You have a second?
Second.
Steve's gonna second.
Any more discussion? All right, so the motion is to,
First, accept the amendment.
oh,
And then if the amendment
Yeah.
is accepted.
yes. Okay, all in favor of accepting the amended motion, say aye. Aye.
Is that everybody? All right, so how many say yes? 1, 2, 3, 6?
In favor of amending it so that it comes half from
Yeah.
Board of Ed and half from
Yeah.
town.
Are we voting on not voting on the motion, we're voting on her ability to amend.
Yeah, it was amend the motion,
No,
so.
if we vote yes, then that motion, my motion is amended to be.
Yes.
What she has said. So if you want it to be 50-50, then I'd say vote yes to Marie's amendment. If you don't want it to be 50-50.
I've done this
then
before
vote no.
by getting agreement from the group to amend the motion,
Yeah.
because the person who seconds it's supposed to agree as well, in my experience of it.
Steve seconded, so now
The
we're
amendment.
discussing, we're not past this, but to amend, right?
Right.
We were
Amending it to what she proposed, what she, motion she
And
made.
my motion, have it all come from the Board of Education, will go away, not go there.
Correct.
So we have to decide whether we want to stay with the
Right.
board or go 50-50.
So actually, in Robert's rules, you just have to agree to amend your motion.
So everybody has to agree.
Okay, I think it's the motion maker, but
All right,
So then we can't entertain the amendment.
so she's not accepting it, so now her motion is now void. Correct?
Yeah, Robert's rules, not,
So it's her motion.
So the motion's still on the floor.
her motion's still on the floor, and we'll,
We have to come up with something different.
so either, we have to vote.
You have to vote on Kelly's original motion.
Yeah, Kelly's original motion,
All Board of Ed.
okay.
Okay,
It's
so
been moved and seconded that we, require the Board of Ed to cut their budget by $250,000. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
2, 3, 4. Stephen, did you say yes?
I said yes.
That's 4. Dave, you said that's 4. And then, how many are no? Raise your
Very
hand.
clearly.
3. Okay. All right, 4-3.
All right, motion carries.
I mean, at least gives direction for purposes of one. And public hearing.
And we're doing the public hearing as,
FiPAC, are you gonna have a meeting on Tuesday, or we're just gonna go with the FiPAC meeting on Wednesday to just review again this before it goes, and then go into the public hearing and motion to go?
I don't think there's any more.
Yeah, we're just voting to send the proposed budget to the town meeting.
To the public hearing.
Public hearing on the 17th, which that's the date.
That's our
Yeah.
meeting date.
That's your meeting date, so you can have a regular meeting, but right now, under the circumstances, you can open it up if you guys have any changes before it goes to public hearing, or you just wait till after the public hearing. You can just start. Right, now, do you want, so, does the public hearing need to be on Tuesday? Is that what you're saying? No, so we'll just open FiPAC right into a public hearing. Okay. All right.
And after the public hearing, FiPAC can
Reconvene. FiPAC.
reconvene and make any modifications you want, that you're gonna send to the,
All right, so
Tell
no
me.
other business.
Official budget, the official budget will be Wednesday night.
Once you motion it to send it.
When
Yeah.
we vote to send these.
Yeah.
So we can
Right.
alter the number. we want.
Yeah,
right.
based on what you hear.
So, yeah, so we're gonna open into a public hearing and then you motion to send it off to the town meeting, and if there's no other business, we adjourn. On Wednesday. Okay, is that?
And what time's the public hearing? 7 as usual?
7.
Yeah, that's not, can people come? Well, yeah, the FiPAC meeting is
It's
2
okay.
seconds while we vote to move forward with the public hearing, right?
Yeah, so you could open up, if, as far as I know, if we have no other, I'll call, if there's something we need to talk about before we open the public hearing. Now, I don't think so. We can just start the meeting, move right into if there's nothing else, maybe just approve minutes and stuff that you can do. Go into the public hearing, you close the public hearing, and then you guys discuss the budget, and then you decide what you're gonna send to the town meeting on the 24th, 23rd. Is that, everybody got that?
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
For second.
So,
You're seconding.
It's 7:35.
7:34.
what do you know?
I could figure it out.